The roadside bomb, Soleimani, I killed Soleimani. But
Thank you for that. He was making the explosive form penetrators. They're making them in Iran, bringing them to Iraq and blasting through the vehicles.
Well, he was the father of the roadside bomb, essentially, and he killed a lot of people. And when you see soldiers or others, but soldiers generally walking around with no legs, with no arms, a face that's been smashed, that was Soleimani, that was Iran that did that. So we have a much different view on it than other presidents. They've gotten away with murder for 47 years. They're not getting away with it anymore. Does anybody have any questions with the great professionals, please?
So I wanted to know, could this potentially ever be available through the VA? You know, because I was talking to Liz over here, you guys went down to Mexico together, but it's really expensive. And this is another drug that's expensive.
We have the right guy, Oz.
A
Let's
lot
go.
of veterans need this.
Why are you good for this question? They're talking about expense and availability.
So I spoke to Doug Collins. Obviously, both he obviously pays for the VA, and we pay for Medicare, Medicaid, children's health insurance. Are very focused on the results that the NIH and FDA are going to offer us. We have a mechanism of creating models, CMMI. That might be the wise way to go because we can continue to study the impact. It is just such a massive shift in how you deliver care. Imagine instead of taking a pill a day for your depression, you go through one treatment, but you have to have few people watching you. It's a very different world. So we're working that through. That's why the president, who I think this is the perfect step to get everything rolling, to deliver on the promise he made.
What's timing would you say on that, before you know?
We could have a CMMI model that we would announce by the end of this year. But the reason I'm not committing to that now is I want to make sure that the FDA and NIH have time, along with the great scientists, to give us a bit more information about how to deliver care. I'll give you one concrete example. For things like, well, Ibogaine is a little different story, but you would want two people in the room during the treatment. That's true for many of these approaches. That's a very different way of delivering medicine. And so the models that Abe Sutton runs that group for us and has done a great job for the president, that would be probably the fastest way of moving forward and give the VA data so they can make wiser decisions, because Doug Collins is very focused on this.
There's one thing I'd add. There's nothing more expensive right now than the mental health crisis in America. 21% of Americans have a diagnosable mental health condition. The second leading cause of death for young adults today is suicide. Mr. President, antidepressants right now are the most prescribed class of medications in the country. Over 20% of women are on an antidepressant.
And is that good in terms of do they work?
There's highly problematic research on the fact that over 20% of US women are on these drugs that are prescribed for life. We have a mental health crisis. And
do they work?
No. They don't. Maybe I'm on a couple of them. And
I would not have.
they don't.
I would not have.
I'm talking to Liz. I said, okay, could I be next? But no, it is definitely an issue for women.
But Mr. President, what you and Secretary Kennedy unlocked is for the first time questioning this system, that where we spend 3 times more per capita than any other country in the world, and we are living 6-7 years less. We have the highest rates of suicide and depression in the developed world. The incentives of our system.
And by the way, autism, which we're really working hard on, right, Bob?
We have the highest rates.
And we're coming up with some pretty amazing findings.
Pediatric cancer is the highest rates in the world. We are struggling and we're paying more than any other country, and the power of this executive order is really representative and gives validation to the cries of MAHA moms and the votes of MAHA moms, because for the first time it's taking a therapy that's one time. This is a one time, not a lifetime drug that can change someone's life, and that's the power, and I think that's why the system.
So the antidepressants, all that we read about and we prescribe to our military, they're not very effective?
It's a lifetime drug, and
Well, even if it's lifetime, but do they?
look at what's happened as we've prescribed them and made them one of the most prescribed.
The
classes of
numbers are not
medication.
great.
This
Perhaps
is
I could jump in from the scientific side.
Thank you, Mr. President. What's the timeline
Hold on,
for those with
Shiz
mental
wanted to say
health?
something. Did you
Yes,
let her-
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think what's really important about your order is we really want to understand why these rapid-acting treatments work. We need that for every treatment in mental health illnesses. Standard antidepressants in research, they do work for some people, but certainly not everyone. And if we think of cancer, all other conditions, we have a test to know which treatment
That's right.
is needed, and we don't have that for mental illness. It's guesswork.
This is tough.
So
with that, it either works or it doesn't work, and you have the result.
And so
With this, you don't
as
know.
part of this order, I think it's really important that we're able to have the investment to understand who does this work for, and the test to accompany that. So thank you for
Do
making that
you think this can be a
possible.
big step above antidepressants, what we're doing?
I think it can be identifying who doesn't respond to an antidepressant straight away, rather than waiting for years. And
What
being
percentage
able
of
to-
people respond positively to antidepressants? How
20
much?
to 30%.
That's not great.
No.
That's not great. Well, thank you very good question.
Mr. President, what's the timeline for those with mental health disorders, substance abuse disorders, to readily take advantage of this treatment based upon the executive order that you're signing today?
So I'd like to ask maybe Marty that question.
Sure. So first of all, right now it's available on clinical trials. We have not had applications in-house at the FDA. There was one that came in under the Biden administration. It was kicked out and not accepted. We now have 3 applications that are imminent, and we'll be issuing vouchers next week. The fastest FDA approval was 42 days during the HIV epidemic. On our national priority voucher program under President Trump, we are now down to that time frame on a routine basis instead of a year. In my opinion, we need the same level of urgency we had with HIV for PTSD and depression and anxiety and our mental health disorder and cancer and heart disease and so many other conditions. So you're going to see decisions out from the FDA later this summer as soon as we get the applications.
That's great. That's great.
And Mr. President,
I like that answer. I really like that answer. to be
thank you,
honest.
Mr.
Go
President.
ahead.
And then in regards to the timing of the executive order, was there not enough known about this treatment a year ago, or 5 years ago, or 8 years ago to sign the executive order that you signed?
So do you want to answer that question? Go ahead.
I would just
please.
add, in 2016, the lead professor at Johns Hopkins said this was the most promising therapy that he's seen in his career, and many doctors from leading institutions said that. There's been a hold, there's been incentives against this, and it's the bravery and leadership of President Trump
So
that's
you're
getting
getting
this done.
artificial barriers?
It started, and this, to be clear, is starting a fast-track scientific process that's subject to FDA approval. But this has been known among leading institutions for many times as a very promising therapy.
So could it not have been signed in your first term, or there just wasn't enough information known about it?
Nobody told me about it, frankly. I mean, I got, all of a sudden, I've been getting a lot of calls. I think a lot, in all fairness, I think a lot's been learned over the last
Yeah,
few
can I
years.
just say that? I mean, a lot has been learned over the past few years. I think in the first term, if I was standing behind the president, I would have been much more comfortable than I am now, thanks to the research that's been done. I mean, still a lot more to do. It's worked for so many people. That's really a great move to do this. But the research is really important because we're going to keep improving, keep learning, and make sure that the people get the treatment they need when they are depressed.